Hi, this is Dr. McCullough. Have you found yourself wondering if you're in a dream or a night, some type of dystopian nightmare that we've actually entered into the matrix and the global elitists are keeping us locked up and censored? Well, I've been in the internet since the 1970s. Yes, that's 50 years, nearly 50 years. And I started my website well before Google did, and years before Facebook. Now, I've seen the internet in its infancy, and I've seen it progress into a weapon that is being used as a powerful tool against us. Just like books, like The Brave New World accurately predicted. Truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth. And the global elites are doing everything in their power to stop thoughts and ideas that are dangerous to their plans to control everyone on the planet. Now, if you've been a longtime subscriber or a visitor to this website, you know that we've been in this fight with other great people and groups for a very long time and have learned many valuable lessons along the way. Now, I'm sure you understand that the Great Reset is actually a very cleverly designed global scheme and follows a playbook that was also used by the tobacco companies for nearly a century to deceive us about the dangers of smoking tobacco. And looking back, you wonder how people could be deceived about something so obvious that smoking was extremely dangerous for you and your health. And I'm sure many of you clearly remember when the presidents of all the tobacco companies were sitting before Congress and they were grilled by them in the late 90s. And every last one of them testified that cigarettes were A, not addictive, and B, did not cause cancer. All big tobacco had to do was pay to deceive the public. And how do they do that? They ran vicious discrediting campaigns against scientists or journalists who told the truth about the dangers of cigarettes. Additionally, they paid politicians, scientists, influential journalists, and health agencies with savvy public relations companies. That's the key, these PR firms. So Monsanto used the same successful strategy to deceive the public about GMOs and pesticides, to create doubt and confusion. Thankfully, with your support, I was able to contribute millions of dollars to fund the very first signature gathering in California to start the GMO labeling initiative and the campaigns that followed in other states as well. Now, the California initiative was, believe it or not, was about a decade ago. And back then, virtually no one understood what a GMO was. And we knew we were going to be greatly outspent by Monsanto. But getting Monsanto to engage directly was the key to raising awareness while receiving widespread national coverage at the same time. Now, this forced Monsanto to engage with the public about GMOs, and that shed light in the darkness and was really the true goal of the campaigns. It wasn't to win the direct ballot initiative. It was to increase public awareness. Now, regardless of whatever lies the tobacco or the pesticide industries try to tell you when they have to directly engage with you, it's easy, so easy to see when they are lying. And this turns people against them because the truth comes to the surface. Now, when Monsanto was brought into the light, their reputation rapidly disintegrated and even made pharmaceutical giant Bayer, who bought them, regret that decision because of the millions of dollars in lawsuits. So the reality is that Monsanto, big tobacco, big pharma, and big tech all follow the same playbook. To sell a lie, you need the media, politicians, and scientists. Sadly, all of these professionals can be easily bought. Big tobacco concealed the harm of smoking for nearly a century, but the key to spreading their lies was to have a sophisticated public relations firm running their propaganda. And they hired the absolute best at the time in the 50s. And in the case of tobacco, that was Hills and Knowlton. But Monsanto, half a century later, hired a different firm, Ketchum, who set up front groups and consumer websites like GMO Answers and used social media troll farms and paid organizations like Science Media Center to put scientists in front of journalists with their talking points in hand while working to discredit respectable scientists who had integrity but opposed Monsanto. So when you investigate the strategies used by Monsanto and Bayer, it becomes crystal clear that the same playbook is being used by big tech and big pharma to shape the mainstream narrative about COVID-19 and the Great Reset. Silencing and discrediting critics is fundamental to the elitist. Now, those who dare question the safety and necessity of a COVID-19 vaccine, or for that matter, any other vaccine, have been publicly labeled, get this, because it's just so shocking, a national security threat. Public manipulation and disinformation campaigns are now being aggressively deployed. And guess who is leading and organizing these campaigns? No surprise, another PR firm. This time, it is the Publicis Group, who describes themselves as one of the world's largest communications groups, and they represent major companies within most of big tech and big pharma. Publicis just happens to own NewsGuard, which is the self-appointed fact-checking site of the internet that is helping to shut down opinions that they don't like. Publicis is also a partner of, get this, the World Economic Forum, which is leading the call for the great resets of the global economy and a complete overhaul of your future life. And would it surprise you to learn that NewsGuard is also partnering with Bill Gates, Microsoft, the World Health Organization, and even the U.S. Department of Defense? And you probably guessed that Publicis even represents the very companies that are manufacturing the fast-track COVID-19 vaccine for tens of billions of dollars. They represent Merck, Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, J&J, Sanofi, but also all the big tech companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter. Publicis' relationship with the big pharma and big tech is one of the most dangerous and pernicious partnerships in the world. This is because Publicis is fundamental to the success of the Great Resets, whose primary purpose is to concentrate wealth and power to the global elites. Now, one of the greatest threats to tyranny and loss of personal freedom is happening right now, and very few even see it. Why? I believe it's largely related to very sophisticated deep learning analysis that has occurred on all the private data that has been collected from you and everyone else for the last 2 decades. They have mined this treasure chest of information to understand precisely how to manipulate your behavior with emotions, primarily fear. But once big tech did the analysis and got the game plan, they needed a major player to help them implement it. And who do you think that major player is? You guessed it, Publicis. If you look deeply, you will find Publicis fingerprints throughout the net of censorship and misdirection that is now being cast across the entire digital landscape. The Publicis Group has manipulated what you think about commercial products for nearly a century. Over the last century, they have bought or partnered with targeted advertising avenues, beginning with newspapers, followed by radio, TV, cinema, and then the internet. More recently, they branched into big data acquisitions and artificial intelligence platforms using deep learning. Now, I consider myself part of the free press, which allows us to exercise our right under the First Amendment of the Constitution to express our opinions. Now, the free press has traditionally outed the truth behind deceptive advertising and counters the industry propaganda and exposes the dirty lobbyists that corrupt our government and politicians. Now, I'm sure you understand that the mainstream media largely survives on the revenues of its advertisers. And because of that, these PR firms like Publicis are able to feed stories which actually support their advertisers. So Publicis and its industry clients have been able to influence and control the media and internet platforms to restrict, indeed virtually eliminate your ability to get the truth on many important issues that might get in the way of their clients. Now, Publicis NewsGuard has just launched a new service called HealthGuard and has just partnered with WebMD, Medscape, and the Center for Countering Digital Hate. That name sounds familiar. Oh, yeah, this is the group that recently labeled people like me that question the COVID-19 vaccine as a national security threat. Now, HealthGuard, the Center for Countering Digital Hate, WebMD, and Medscape have started a new campaign called VaxFacts. The goal of the campaign is to provide the facts and tools to help consumers make informed decisions about vaccine. Imagine that. Now, Google just happened to donate $3 million to HealthGuard with the aim of countering vaccine misinformation. And NewsGuard maintains a coronavirus misinformation tracking center that includes top COVID-19 vaccine myths tracker. So while it's easy to dismiss Publicis as just another ad agency, I believe it would be foolish and dangerous to underestimate its power to organize the kind of coordination required to shut down vaccine concerns, anti-lockdown proponents, and people merely trying to educate their fellow human beings about the dangers of the Great Reset. Understanding these connections are the key to defeating the threats to your freedom and livelihood. Yes, indeed, Publicis is a very legitimate threat, and I am convinced they are far more dangerous than Monsanto. But remember, we defeated Monsanto, and I am confident that we can be successful against this new serious threat to our freedom. Why do I have this confidence? Because I understand technology, and I can tell you very confidently that there are a number of very high-level technical people that are actively engaging in developing a new decentralized process, an alternative, the new internet that is based on blockchain technology that will give you the opportunity to maintain control over your data. Your data. You'll be sovereign over it. You will never be able to be censored in these new platforms. It just is not possible because they're using the blockchain and smart contracts to maintain this sovereignty. So it's coming, but this is going to take a while. It's going to be a few years before this new technology gets implemented, but it will be here, and they will not succeed because this will be a death blow, a knell to what they're doing. So what do you do in the meantime? You've got to educate all your friends and family. So please send them a copy of this video so they can understand how they're being manipulated and brainwashed by Publicis and the people who employ them. So the other thing you can do is subscribe to our newsletter and have your friends and family subscribe to the newsletter, because I'm going to give you the latest as soon as it comes out and tell you what these new platforms will be. It's as I said earlier, they're in the development stage, but they are coming, and they will successfully counter what Publicis and these other groups are doing. So hang in there and know that ultimately we together will succeed.